Hello everybody and welcome to the Punchboard Report. My name is Blake Ryder. Today we are looking at Iwari. Iwari was designed by Michael Schacht and published in 2020 by Thundergryph Games. Now, this game is kind of a reskinning of a reskinning of a reskinning of an older game. Originally, this game was called Web of Power. Came out in 2000. Then it was reskinned and republished as China in 2005, and then again as Han in 2014. So this is the latest iteration published by Thundergryph Games. Introduces some really, really cool artwork and components to the game. This is an area control. It's fairly abstract. It's an abstract area control game where you're going to be placing tents on a map as well as some totems, and you're trying to gain control, area control of these different regions, as well as control in adjacent regions via these totems to gain points. Just note when we place this on the table, this is the deluxe version of the game, so if you were to get a retail version of the game, the components might be slightly different. For example, these tents that we'll be placing on the board, there is some screen printing on them in the deluxe version, which I know the retail version does not have, so just know there might be some slight differences if you get a retail version if this interests you. So, without further ado, let's get this set up on the table, and we'll be back after that for some thoughts. Okay, so this is a Iwari setup for 3 players, and players are going to get tents and totems in their color. They're also going to get a hand of 3 cards to begin the game, and they're also going to place a few of these mountain tokens on the board based on player count to block off the connections between a couple of the territories on the board. So what we're trying to be doing in this game is we're going to be playing cards to ultimately place these totems and tents on the board, and we're going to be, in doing so, we're going to get points based on the numbers of totems and tents that are on the board in the various territories. Once the deck is exhausted, there will be a scoring phase, then we'll shuffle the deck up, play through the deck again, and then there'll be a final scoring. So the way this works, on your turn, you can discard cards to basically play these tents and totems in the territories that match the color. So theoretically, this green can place tents or totems in that green or that green. Or you can also discard 2 matching cards to essentially be a wild and place them anywhere. On your turn, if you are placing tents or totems, if you're placing them in a territory that is completely empty, so like for example this one, at the beginning of the game they'll all be empty, you can only place 1 piece on that turn, and it has to be a tent. So theoretically I can place this card, play it, discard it, and then place 1 tent in there. However, if a territory is already explored, meaning there is at least 1 tent in that territory, you can then place up to 2 pieces in that territory. You cannot place 2 pieces in different territories. You can't place 1 piece here and 1 piece there on your turn, for example. It has to be in the same exact territory, up to 2 pieces. So let's hypothetically say the blue player went and the blue player placed a piece there, and now it's my turn and this is my hand. I could place this, discard it, and place 1 there in the matching territory, and then I could discard those 2, treat it as a wild, and then again place 1 tent in that territory. Now let's say then you would always draw cards back up to 3 at the end of your turn, and then the next player would go. So let's play it goes around, and now it's back to me, and let's just hypothetically say these are my cards again. Obviously I would have discarded them to place those on the board, but for the sake of example, let's say this is the game state, and I have those cards. I could stick with the tents. However, I could also place totems. Now, totems are placed the exact same way. I could discard this green one and place a totem. I can also discard those 2 and treat them as a wild, and also place the totem. Now, when you're placing a totem, it has to be an explored territory, so there must already be tents, and you have to look at the number that the majority of tents is. So right in this situation, there's 3 tents, but the majority is 2, because there are 2 yellows. That means there could be at most, at that moment, 2 totems in that territory. So theoretically, I could discard this one, place a totem, and then discard these 2, treat it as a wild, place it, and then place another totem in that territory. So right now, no more totems can be placed in that territory. However, on a subsequent turn, I may place another tent there, and now the majority here is 3, so now another totem could go there. Theoretically, another player could place a totem there, or I could place a 3rd totem there. Either one would be fine, but now 3 would be the max because the majority is 3. So that's how gameplay is going to work, and players are going to be going around the board and going around and just placing tents and totems using those placement rules I just went over, and then we're going to play through that deck, and once that deck is exhausted, there will be a scoring. So let's hypothetically say we did that, and after we run through that deck, the board may look like this. Now, scoring in the middle of the game and the end of the game are very similar. However, the middle of the game we're only going to be scoring tenths, and at the end of the game we're going to be scoring tenths again, totems, as well as what's called settlements, and I'll get to that momentarily. So the way this scores, it's quite simple. We're going to score every single territory, so this one is empty, so no scoring there. No scoring there yet. However, let's look at this one. So we're going to count the number of tenths in the territory, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoever holds the majority, in this case green holds the majority, green is going to get 1 point for every tenth in the territory. So green would get 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points in the territory, 6 points for green. Second majority is yellow because they have 2. So they're going to get points equivalent to the number of tenths that the majority holder has. So yellow is going to get 3 points, and then whoever is third, in this case blue, which has 1, is going to get points for whoever has the second most tenths, the number of tenths they have. So blue is going to get 2. So green is going to get 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yellow is going to get 3, 1, 2, 3, and then blue is going to get 2 because 1 and 2, and you will keep track of the score on this nice little score marker. And every single territory is going to score the exact same way, but that is where things get interesting. So for example, in this one, blue would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because there's 5 tenths there and they hold the majority. However, green only placed 1 tenth there and they're going to get 4 because 1, 2, 3, 4. So they'll get 4 and green will get 5, and it only costs the green guy 1 tenth to do so. So that's where the crafty placement in this game comes into play. In this territory, you'll see yellow has the majority again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yellow gets 5, and green and blue are tied with each with 1, and ties in this game are friendly, so green and blue would each get 3 points. After that, that is the end of we'll score each section, and that'll be the end of the first round. Then we'll shuffle the deck up, and then play again straight through the deck the exact same way. And then at the very end of the game, we'll do endgame scoring. And scoring, like I said, is very similar, but let's take a look. This is what the board may look like at the end of the game. So now we ran through the deck again, and now it's time for final scoring. So again, we're going to do the tenths in the exact same way that we did before, same exact way. Then we're going to do what's called settlements. A settlement is a grouping of a minimum of 4 connected tenths, and you're going to score of the same color, and you're going to score 1 point per tenth. So here's a settlement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all connected. So yellow will get 6 points for that settlement. Let's see, blue has a nice one here, 1, 2, 3. Oh, they don't have one there. How do you like that? They missed that one. So based on this board right here, only one settlement exists, and it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the yellow. So we're going to score settlements the same, just like that. Hypothetically, though, if their blue guy was here, then that would be a settlement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be a nice one for blue. So we'll score tenths, then we'll score settlements, and then we'll score totems. Now, the way totems work, you'll see these little numbers on the board that look like that, 4, 5. What we're going to do is we're going to start with number 1, and then we're going to go around the map, and you'll see these are kind of covering up some ones that we're not going to be scoring. But we're going to start with number 1, and then we're going to literally go 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to go around the board until we score every single one that is being scored, and then this is how it works. So let's say we were up to this one, number 4, okay? So we place that there just to indicate that's what we are checking, and then you're going to look at the number of totems in each one of these territories. And we're going to see who has the majority. Orange or yellow has the majority there, as well as the majority here. So they are going to get points equivalent to the number of totems in totality between both of those stacks for that totem scoring. So in this situation, they will get 3 for here and 3 for there. So they will get a total of 6 points for that totem scoring. And then you go to the next one. So that was 4, now we go to 5. So again, they have the majority there, and in this game, ties are friendly. So even though there is one yellow and one blue here, ties are friendly. So this would count as though they had the majority there as well. So here, they're going to get 3 and 2 is 5. So they'll get 5 for that scoring, and for that totem scoring, and then we'll move on to 6. So then we go there, and we look at the number of totems between these two. In this situation, blue and yellow/orange, they both share the majority there, and blue has the majority, again, shared, but doesn't matter, because ties are friendly there as well. So in this situation, blue would get the majority because they have a majority in both. So they would get 2 plus 2 is 4. Blue would get 4 for that one. And then we would continue. And then we just keep doing that. 7, green has the majority there, and then green has a shared majority there, which is fine. So they would get 2 and 2 is 4, and then we would go to 8. So we would do that until we score every single one of the totem markers that is being scored. Like I said, these mountains are placed at the beginning of the game to block off certain connections because based on player count. So in this case, number 1 is blocked off because we're not using that one. And then we're going to score all the tents, add everything, all the tents, all the totems, and all the settlements, and then we will add all the points together, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So that was Iwari. Now, I just want to reiterate real quick that the totem scoring, you need to have the majority in those totem stacks in both of those adjacent scoring regions to get any points. If you have the majority in both, you get the number of totems in both of those regions combined. If you have only one of the majorities and someone else has the majority in the adjacent region, then no one gets any points, and then you advance to the next totem scoring region. And frankly, I think the totems are what make the game really, really good and really, really interesting. It's that dynamic and that dichotomy between the totems and the tents, and the capacity of the totems is linked to the capacity or the number of tents that the majority tent holder has in that region. And that creates a really interesting push and pull and a give and take, because if you are the majority tent holder in a region and you want to add another tent to reinforce your positioning in that region, you're then opening up the totem again, because now the capacity is higher, and depending on the game state and what your status is in those totem regions, that could be good or bad for you. So that is what creates this kind of mathematical puzzle in your mind when you're playing this game, and that's what makes the game really cool for me, in my opinion. This game is extremely, extremely tactical. Difficult to really long-term plan because you don't really know what cards are going to be available when it's your turn. You also don't know what regions your opponents are going to be going for. Now, you also do have a little bit of that like Ticket to Ride kind of approach to kind of figuring out what your opponent is doing, because you can see if they don't take from the draw pile, if they take from the display, you can kind of gauge where they may be going for. But then the fact that you can use 2 cards as a wild, 2 magic cards, I should say, as a wild, that kind of negates that a little bit, because they could be taking a color to treat it as a wild. So you don't really know, but it's additional information you can utilize. So, like I said, long-term strategic planning, a little bit challenging, but not in a bad way. Not every game needs to have long-term strategic planning. This is a much more tactical and reactionary game. This game is extremely mathy. I personally am very, very mathematically inclined, way more so than my verbal. Like, if I go back to like high school days, my SAT score was like math, verbal way, way down. Does SAT score even matter once you're an adult? I don't know. But just to give you an example, I am mathematically driven. And so this game really appeals to me and how I like to think about when I think about games. As far as other things that this game comes with, there's also this kind of add-on to the game. It's called feats, and I don't mean feet like you walk on. I mean feat like F-E-A-T. And you can add these feats, which are kind of these little tokens, to the game. And basically, the way this works is that if you are the first person to accomplish, or the second person to accomplish one of these feats, an example would be the first or second person to complete a settlement, or the first or second person to put the last tent in a region, then you can place one of these feat tokens in any region on the board, observing certain placement rules, and then you can multiply. It has a multiplier effect to the scoring of that specific region. So that adds another layer to the game as well. The game itself, the components are awesome, minus the fact that these 2 colors are 2 different player colors, and they're very, very similar. But you can see, the totems themselves are different. So if you're colorblind, even if you're not colorblind, you can see they're very, very similar, almost identical. But shy of that, the actual components themselves, like the touch and feel of them, extremely, extremely cool. And beyond that, the artwork is very, very cool as well, as you probably saw. Other than that, I would say that this game, interestingly enough, this game is very quick. What's interesting is that it looks like, and it feels like a main event game. It feels like the game that, like the main event of the game night. But it's quick. This game, the box says 45 minutes. I played this a week ago. We played it at 3, and that was definitely shorter than 45. I would say a half hour. When I played it at 4, it was probably a half hour, maybe a slightly longer. And so, it's really, it's not a long game at all. So, but it feels like you're into a good game while you're playing it. So overall, I think this is a solid game. If you are mathematically and numerically inclined, if you like very tactical games, definitely a game you might like to check out. If you're a person who kind of likes more longer-term strategic games like Terraforming Mars, where you can plan many turns ahead, maybe it's not for you. But, if you like both types of games, strategic and tactical, might be worth checking out. So those are my thoughts. Thank you again for watching. My name is Blake Ryder.